Hello. Hello. Yeah, Mr. Tanvir Ahmed, can we check the audio? Hello. Hello.
Control Alt Delete is there.
Yeah, Professor Tanvir Ahmed, am I audible? Professor Ahmed, Dr. Ahmed, I am Jashwant Rathod, am I audible?
Sir, you are audible.
Yeah, but need the man. I want to hear his voice. I want to hear the voice of the nightingale. So need. Sir.
Sir, Tanveer here. I have made you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, you have to make Dr. Barad co-host, Dr. Dilip Barad co-host, so that he can present his presentation.
Yes, I am co-host now, and
Yeah.
I will be able to share my screen.
4 minutes and 4 minutes. We can wait for.
Yeah. And now the meeting is also now streaming live on YouTube, right now?
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Is it possible for Tanvir to change the title on the YouTube channel?
I think, sir, he is managing on that live one, right?
Aha.
So uh, first of all, he has to provide with that link.
Haha. Okay, no
So that-
problem. I can put the full title in the chat. So
right,
later
right.
on, while the things are going on,
Right, he
you can. I'm putting a personal message to him
right,
in a
right.
chat message. Yeah?
That's.
Hello, Rathore sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll be sharing the link with those who have not joined. Is it
Yes,
okay?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Let's
Yes,
see.
sir. Yes.
Those who would be in the waiting room
Yeah.
with the link.
Yes, sir. Yes. And I think if you WhatsApp me, I can send this to Dr. Bharat too.
Sure.
So he can also share, right?
You can put an open link in chat room also,
Yeah. Yes.
so people can get or share from there also.
So I have shared the link.
Yes. It is there. I'm sharing it with the people. And I'm also sharing it to waiting room.
Dilip sir wanted to rename the title
Yeah, yes, sir.
page.
Sir, kindly write down the title so that he can rename.
I have given the message.
Yeah, yes,
I have
yes.
typed in the message.
Can go ahead. I'll work on YouTube.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I think it is 4 and 2. I should start right now. Okay, welcome all once again. First of all, let me thank you, Dr. Dilip Barad. He is Head Department of English at Maharaja Krishna Kumar Singh Ji University, Bhavnagar. And I think I had not that opportunity to meet him, but I should start with the dialogue of Raj Kumar because I am today in a sense of, you can say, mischievous sense. So in one of the movies, Raj Kumar says, sir, that बच्चे जिस स्कूल में आप पढ़ा करते थे उसके प्रिंसिपल हम थे. So this is aptly, you can say, connected to Dr. Barad, because as far as e-content, as far as these webinars, as far as this, you can say, digital media is concerned, right? He has contributed a lot to education. He had immensely contributed to the education sector of this country, and the nation it is praised or acclaimed all over the nation that he had, I can say, some immense contribution, some immense valuable contribution, right, in this field, right. I have I find him as one of the professors who is also a very eminent professor in English literature, as well as technologically he is very sound. Is very, you can say, prominent, and sir, you are always my motivator, and I wish to be you. Thank you, sir, for accepting my invitation. And on behalf of Government Arts and Commerce College, Netrang, Bharuch, Gujarat, I welcome all the guests, all the participants from all over India. And this is, I think, my 39th of webinar, and we are discussing now how technology will change, right? So I should not waste my time. Sir, over to you. You can start your address.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Jaswantji. It's very interesting. 39th series of talk that is going on webinar. What we see because of this technology, because of this lockdown that has given a new opportunity to everybody, is that I talked this in several other webinars also, that what Thomas Friedman used to say in his book, The World is Flat, that the world will become flat once the technology and electricity will be there. And now this is exactly that. A small college like Netrang, government college, that too, the colleges are always in financial crisis. They cannot invite people for talks and other things. Now, these colleges are doing wonderful webinars and inviting people from all the corners of India, and having a wonderful gathering. This is how a huge college, a rich college in Bombay, or a very poor, remotely located town place, a village place college, all are having equal play nowadays because of this technology. And yours is a very interesting success story, that for series of things, 39th one in this series is going on here. So today what we are going to talk is about, let me share my slides and see here. So I hope you are able to see the slide.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we want to see this, that how we look at the idea of technology in English literature classroom. Now, there are several concerns that this topic comes in the mind, is that we talk a lot about English language and technology, but we do not quite often talk about literature classroom and technology. English literature classroom and technology is very rarely talked about topic in various capacities. So we want to explore something in this area, that how we can look at it. I know we will have some of the poll questions, and I know that most of you will say that you all are using technology. You may be dealing with literature also in your classrooms. Maybe it is a compulsory English classroom or a major English classroom or in whatever capacity, but you might be using. But what our concern is that how critically we look at that process also. How can we document that process in different way, and we can like move towards a research in that area also. That is what we want to see. This question, a rather rhetorical question: is there a technology in English literature, a classroom there? Okay, before we move on, I would request the host to display the poll for everybody. Yeah?
Sir, shall I put it one by one, or shall I put...
Right now, first poll for 60 seconds.
Yes.
Then we will see the result, and then the second poll after seeing the result for 60 seconds. Yeah. Is it visible to everybody? Or?
Yes, sir.
I'm not able to see, so maybe because I'm sharing.
Sir, because you are
sharing a link.
Yes, yes, sir.
Are people voting?
Yes, sir. 3, 4, 5. No. Most of them saying no. No.
No, not in
Hello.
this one. Hello.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Just one,
yes.
sir.
It is there. It is there.
No,
it is there.
not in the chat, but in the poll. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Pardon?
Sir, it is not visible, I think.
It is in the chat, sir.
Not in the chat. It was supposed to be in the poll.
So that,
can Tanvir help in this?
Yeah. Tanvir, sir.
Sure.
Sir, I am sending you the poll. Kindly manage it in the poll, right? Please.
Is it possible? Then we can see. We just have to copy paste, but
Yes, sir,
it's possible for him to do. A host can do or co-host can do, but it should be launched in advance. Yeah.
Yes. Sir, I have sent.
Okay, is he there? Tanvir, can he tell us something so we can wait for him? Can we listen to Tanvir?
I have Tanvir here.
Okay, yeah.
Yes,
Okay, yeah. Are you putting the polls? First and second you can put right now, then we can continue, and later on you can copy paste those things. Just let us know, is it possible or not? Otherwise we'll move on without poll also.
Just wait.
Yeah.
The stuff that I received was like this.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So you have to copy the first poll one, then AB is options. AB are options.
Yeah.
Have you come across any research on that is the poll question? Then yes, no, that are the options for the answer for that poll. Yeah.
Then we have poll.
Then second poll. So right now poll 1 and 2 you can pick up, and then you can work on. We will move on when the time of 3, 4 will come. At a time you won't be able to do. One by one you will have to pick up.
Yeah. I hope now it is visible to every.
Yes, sir. Yes. It is.
No, but this is like it should be in Zoom. I think that feature might not have been tried earlier. So
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought it must be. So I didn't tell you because you are working for so many days. I thought someday the poll feature might have been tried in Zoom.
The poll feature was not tried. We can move ahead, and I will explore it, and maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Then later on you can come with the other. It will come in a series, and we can pick up whichever poll we want to display there. Okay. You can start. Let me share the screen then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This was like the list of the poll that I think everybody is able to see from my Word document also. Yeah. Have you come across any research on the pedagogy of teaching literature? Yeah. That was one of the questions that was there. Many have responded no. The another was like, do you think that the way we have lots of researches in teaching English language, uh, do we have in a similar way about teaching English literature or not? That was the another question that we were trying to see, or we wanted to explore in these two polls here. So why are we asking this question? Because so far as I remember, in last so many years that I have guided research supervisors, I have evaluated many theses, but I have not come across a single thesis which is talking about the pedagogy of teaching English literature, not literature as such. So that was something alarming to see that why we do not have a research in the area of teaching literature. We have so many works in teaching English language, but not in literature. So that was the concern here. So when we look at why this topic that we are looking here, is that though there are many successful efforts to improve and modernize the teaching of literature, most concern methods of critical interpretation. Whatever research we have, they normally concentrated on methods of critical interpretations rather than pedagogical processes. So we try to look at here at something like pedagogical processes in this here. A few, any relation to the new research on learning, not to speak about exploring personal teaching experiences. New there is a pinging coming up about the people coming in the waiting room. So I'm seeing that on the screen. So new research in learning. Now, when we talk about English language or technology or CALL, we obviously start with a variety of learnings. We have the people who are listeners. We have people who are auditory, those people who are kinesthetic kind of learners. So lots of research is there about different types of learners and learner personalities. But when it comes to literature, rarely people concentrate that how the learner personalities, literature and other things also, which is happening a lot in ELT in terms of English language there. So serious and sustained discussion on teaching literature needs to be initiated. Practical teaching practice
So have we lost the audio?
Hello? Hello? Hello?
You are now audible. You are now audible.
Okay, now audible. Okay. There was some technical problem, I think.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So this practical teaching practices, use of technology, research in the pedagogy of English literature teaching, research in teaching practices in English literature classrooms, action research in the use of pedagogical tools like WebQuest, and many other things that perhaps people might be doing, might not be doing, they may be knowing, they may not be knowing also, but this is the concern about looking into technology in English literature classroom there. I asked this question that have you come across any of the work based on these aspects which we are talking about? I would like to refer to this book by Elaine Shalter. Elaine Shalter, we know, is a very famous name in feminist literary theories towards feminist poetics, a very major work written by her. This was the work published in 2003, Teaching Literature. And these are some interesting topics dealt by Elaine Shalter in this book, anxiety of teaching literature from their theories to methods, then poetry, drama, fiction theory, This all, and in methods of teaching literature, she is also talking about use of technology in teaching literature. Well, but 2003 was a very initial time of the integration of technology, the kind of technologies we have today. One or two examples we will see in the presentation were not available in those days, the beginning of the 21st century. Hardly there was PowerPoint presentation, and rarely there were few websites. Teachers were not able to make their websites or blogs or the thing, but they may use some or the thing. So Elaine Shalter talks about methods of teaching literature, and wherein she brings technology also, but that technology is barely PowerPoint presentation only, which obviously today we do not consider as a use of technology or ICT as such in our classroom. But this is a very interesting work. In line of this work, what we are looking is that we need a debate, a discussion, a sustained argument about what we are doing in our classrooms there, and what technology is doing in our literature classrooms. But when we think of this literature classroom, first of all, we need to define what is English literature. Then we see how and the why part that comes. But what comes is that no, we are not going into what is literature, which is literature is a mirror to society, or it is this or that. Not into that, what is literature, but we want to define specifically in Indian context, in our own Indian context, how do we see what is English literature there. And we want to pinpoint, we want to differentiate English literature from all other kinds of literatures that we have. That is, for example, regional literature in our environment. And then we will see how and why part there. So when we think of what is English literature, we have to concentrate on the remoteness and foreignness of English literature. Our other literatures, like our regional literatures or classical Sanskrit literatures, do not have a foreignness or remoteness. Even though Sanskrit literature is coming from 2000 to 5000 years back, still it is not remote to us because it is a part of our consciousness. So we do not feel a remoteness to a very old literature like a Sanskrit literature in our context, or like Tamil literature in context of Tamil Nadu, or the Telugu or Malayali literature in context of other parts of India. So when we see this foreignness and remoteness of the literature, then we come to know that this English literature, which we try to define, has a kind of a cultural anonymity. The social code of conduct is much different than what we have in our lived experiences here. The religious inconspicuousness is much different. For example, English literature is full of Christian religiosity, and the Christian mythology, Christian religion, superstitions, those things are very much unknown to us in our context. And when we say, I would like to give you one example that which was very popularly many times we have discussed in our classroom when we talk about Hamlet. In Hamlet, there is a scene where Laertes is telling that I would like to kill Hamlet, who has murdered my father as a part of a revenge, to slit his throat in church. Now the people are questioning that, well, slitting the throat is fine if you want to kill in that way, but why in church do you want to kill Hamlet by slitting the throat? So that was the question. And obviously, when we do a minute reading of literature, all these kinds of questions trouble us a lot. And then we go into the religious aspects of Christianity, and then we find that there is a sort of Christian superstition that if you are in church, if you are near God, but if you are not able to speak, or if you are not vocal about your sins, God will not pardon you. You have to be vocal. So Laertes says that he will be in the church, he will be near God. He might be wanted to ask for the pardon to God, but the slit throat will not allow him to speak anything. So he won't be vocal, and very near to the gates of heaven, he won't get an entry into heaven, because he won't be able to say to the God that this or that, or pardon or forgive, or the prayer, the last prayers he want. Now this is the Christian mythology, and this is what we say religious inconspicuousness. This become very important in English literature. Mythical aloofness. Greek and Latin mythology are very aloof from our Indian mythologies. the difference in shared collective unconscious. The East is East and West is West. That is what Rudyard Kipling has very famously told. And the point is that there is consciousness of the people which is much different in their context. Geographical remoteness is there. Historical distance also plays a very vital role in looking at this literature. So I think this points makes this idea clear that when we talk of literature, we have to differentiate what is regional literature and what is English literature. Perhaps the teacher of regional literature may not require technology in the classroom, because cultural to social to religious to mythical to geographical to historical remoteness, aloofness, distance is not there. It is very much rooted. For example, Gujarati literature is rooted in Gujarat, and you may not feel any kind of anonymity about that. But in Gujarat, when you deal with English literature, there is a sort of an issue there. Let us see some of the examples that how we look at this idea, and we can get some interesting illustrations about that. If the polls are ready, we can have third, fourth, and fifth poll. Yeah, can I have a talk with Tanvir?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet. Okay, fine. Then let me show you the polls that I had prepared in a Word document, and that will be our plan B to move on with the help of this. So this was like, do you agree that teaching English literature and regional literature requires separate pedagogical strategies and tool or not? Yes, owing to its, you can put your yes or no in comments. You can to this question. Do you agree that teaching English literature and regional literature requires separate pedagogical strategies and tools or not? So that is, and then next one was like, do you use technology in literature classroom? One is yes, and then no. Visual are integral part. I won't be able to see all of your responses, but I think hypothetically that the answer will be yes. Moving pictures, films might be an integral part of literature classrooms. PowerPoint presentations obviously would be an integral part of those things there. Obviously, many argue that words are very important rather than words lead towards imagination and the kind of a thing. But there are very few takers of this argument nowadays because of powerful media, the digital media, the screen, the way it has engulfed the entire world. This is becoming problematic, but it is a very interesting point of debate there. Fifth and the last one for this point was, do you use Google Image in literature classroom? Google Image. And I want to give you some of the examples of this using Google Image in the classroom. So, for example, there was this poem that we were discussing in the classroom. This was from I.A. Richards's practical criticism. And in this poem, as we know that I.A. Richards deals with poetry in the classroom as a kind of a pedagogy, that no title of the poem, no name of the poet, just poetry full of words, and it is given to the students to analyze, a very popular method of teaching literature in our classrooms. And normally poetry classrooms are using this pedagogical tool or a strategy to deal with poetry in the classroom. Now, when we were reading this poem, there came this word Hawthorne, and then Noon's blue pitcher, this words. And it was very difficult to open these words. New criticism is all about opening the words. Each and every word should be opened so that the poem can be dissected properly. Dissection of the poetry. Because we also study Nathaniel Hawthorne's work, A Scarlet Letter, the very first idea that comes in the mind when we see Hawthorne is that Hawthorne might be
So we perhaps lost the audio.
audio is not visible.
He is. No, he's there. Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yeah,
Audible?
yes.
Okay, yeah, okay. Just let me know in case my audio fails. Yeah,
Yes.
so like when we see noon's blue picture, the poetry was dealing with morning after. So people think that noon is a time of the day and it is personified. So noon's blue picture, there is a personification of the time of the day, and then the time of the day is having a blue picture, and that was how we thought this must be the meaning. But then when I thought that let me ask Google image, and let me search something in Google image about this all things. So when we asked Google image, it gave these images of hawthorns. Hawthorns are shrubs.
Professor Barad, your audio is not working, sir. Sir, audio is missing, sir. There may be some network. Yes,
Bharat,
sir.
your audio is muted.
Uh-huh.
Your audio is muted.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
I reconnected. There was some technical problem
Uh,
again. Yeah.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
So I was talking about this hawthorn, cloud looking down, and then this white hawthorn flowers, green meadows, and it gives an image to cloud, from that perspective of a cloud, that there is a green meadow and white water is splashed there. So this is what Google image gave as a result. And then hawthorn is not Nathaniel Hawthorne. Hawthorn is not the last name of somebody. Hawthorn is a shrub, and a particular time in a season it grows white flowers, and then the cloud is watching. There is a green meadows and white flowers, and then you see that there is a milk splashed over a green meadow. The another was even more difficult. This blue picture. This. So when we again googled it in image search, we found this image. There is a blue picture, and then there are flowers. And then what we found is that this is a painting made by somebody known as Suzanne Noon. So Noon was actually a surname of somebody. Noon was a surname of somebody. Hawthorne was not the surname of somebody, but this was a surname, and it was a painting by Susan Noon. And then the way the flowers are split, that was an imagery that was given there. Now, this way, a small poem, but reading of the poem, the meaning of the poem, the very interpretation of the poem changed a lot because of Google image. And otherwise, it was very difficult to find that Susan Noon is somebody whose painting is of blue picture, or hawthorns maybe of this kind. It can be shrub, that dictionary can tell me, but it will sound like a milk splashed over meadows. Might have been a very difficult task to look into into that also. So this is one example. Later on, when we were dealing with this Dr. Faustus's play, Christopher Marlowe's play, Dr. Faustus. And these lines, till swollen with cunning of self-conceit, his waxen wings did mount above his reach, and melting heavens conspired his overthrow came. It again was like, what is Marlowe trying to do or trying to say when he wants to mythically connect uh, Dr. Faustus and his fall with fall of something that was great in Greek, with cunning, self-conceit, waxen wings, mount above his reach, melting heavens conspired his overthrow. When again, just these words are given to Google image, we found wonderful paintings about the flight of Icarus. And this flight of Icarus gave us a myth of Daedalus and Icarus, father and son. The father has made the waxen wings for the sun. Sun started flying higher and higher, reached near the sun. The wax started melting, and then there is a fall of a son, the tragedy of the young fellow, the son in before the eyes of father. That is what it tries to say. But then this was not possible without images. There are wonderful graphical paintings of Greek mythology, but they may not be easily available in the museums of India. Even if they are available, will our students be able to go to the museums and see all those paintings? Obviously, traveling abroad is nearly impossible. Even in our own cities, going to the museums is not that easy. Well, here, Google Image brings the entire museum of mythologies and paintings before in our classrooms there. There was another poll, but I think that won't be ready. Tanveer? Yeah. Okay, let us move on. This image now.
Hello. Sir,
yes, yeah.
My poll setting was off. So
Achha, okay.
in order to make that work, I have to restart the meeting. So I just
Achha.
that.
Okay, now have you done that?
No, I have switched it on the poll option, but in order to make it workable, I'll have to restart the meeting. So I just restart the meeting.
Okay, fine. Okay, then have you started or no need to start now?
No need to start. No, we won't be.
No need to. Yeah, no need to have a poll. We will have in a way, but that itself is a good learning lesson, because in webinars we keep on learning every time something new about various features that these digital platforms are providing to us there. So this painting we're talking about, and then if you will see carefully, if you've seen earlier, you will come to know what this painting is about. Otherwise, in the corner down there, you will find that somebody has fallen in the waters of ocean, and the leg is visible in the corner down. This right-hand side bottom, somebody has fallen. So this is Peter Bruegel's painting of the fall of Icarus. But this is rather a very curious painting. In the previous painting, if you will see this painting, the fall is at the center. In this, the fall has gone on the periphery. It has gone moved to the periphery. Now, these two paintings, it doesn't only help us dealing with Dr. Faustus or the Greek myth or the fall of Icarus and Daedalus thing, but it also helps us in understanding decentering the center. Derridian idea about post-structuralism, decentering the center. So how in this image, the centrality is not important, but something, the periphery, is very important. That becomes very interesting when we see that. Now see how this images, Google Image gives us the images which we have not imagined also. This is like because Elaine Salter is talking about personal experiences of literature teachers. This was the personal experience that when I was looking for that, this painting also came, and I was surprised that what is this painting doing with the myth of Icarus. And then when I explored, I came to know that this is also the same painting, and you have to see on the periphery, on the border, to understand the meaning of this painting. So now see how technology is supporting teachers in the classroom. And even if that was not the question in the mind of teachers, the technology is prompting them that you can see this also, you can see that also, and then the entire classroom environment becomes very interesting, full of discussion and debates also. One more example was about Waiting for Godot. This play, as we know, Beckett wrote this play, and a very simple language is there. The language is so simple that even we rarely have to refer to dictionaries to understand these words. I have put a list of dialogues there, and everybody will find that not a single word is a difficult word that I have to refer to a dictionary, common dictionary, not a picture dictionary there. But the beauty of Beckett's writing is that he has fooled the language, or he has infused the language with lots of connotations, obviously cultural one and religious ones also. So even when we look at a word like the willow, the leaves, and weeping in this, it obviously gives us a question that what are these questions? What is this language? What is Vladimir and Estragon trying to say? And what Beckett wants to tell to us? Are we missing out something from this? So these words again were given to Google Image search, and Google Image gave this picture, weeping willow. And then when you read more about weeping willow, you find that in Ireland, Beckett belonged to Ireland. In Irish culture, Weeping willow is a symbol of positivity, about good thing to happen. So there are different cultural meanings that are given to weeping willow. But what is paradoxical here is that when the tree is full of leaves, they say it is weeping willow. Normally, we think that when the branches are without leaves, we would say that the tree is crying because the leaves are shaded down. But here, the leaves are full. And then, so when he writes that, but where are the leaves? So he says, no more weeping. It must be dead, perhaps. No more weeping. So if there are leaves, the tree might be weeping. But tree is not weeping also. Tree is perhaps dead. We know that the setting of Beckett's play is just one tree and no leaves. In the second part, there is only one leaf. So that was the setting which we can connect here. In this, perhaps Beckett wants to say that nature is completely indifferent to human beings. Nature perhaps do not care for the human beings, about whether you read it weeping or laughing. Nature perhaps do not care, and that is the deeper meaning that the existentialists wanted to convey through these kinds of cultural connotations there. The second reference was this shrub, bush. So looks to me more like a bush. Last lines, yeah? A shrub, a bush. So what is that? So when we try to look at bush, I came across through Google image burning bush, the idea of burning bush. And then when I refer, I found that there is a religious myth connected with burning bush. And it says that when Moses was on the top of a mountain, he had a talk with God, and actually God was talking through a burning bush. So it was not human being on the other side that was talking with Moses, who came down the mountain with 10 commandments. It was not the person coming and talking, but it was a bush, from where the sound of the burning bush, he listened in such a way that the God is trying to say this commandment. So Beckett here also is making a very deep religious connotations, which obviously might have been missed by many readers of Beckett's Waiting for Godot. They might not have gone this deep to understand what all these things mean, because as we discussed, that English literature is so aloof, so remote from our own existence, that these all things are not readily referred to us. I give an example that when I read a poem by Sarojini Naidu, and the title of the poem is A Flute Player from Vrindavan. Now, as soon as I get a flute player from Vrindavan, I come to know that this is Krishna only. Even if Sarojini Naidu do not write anywhere the word Krishna, without any problem, I can easily understand that this is a poem about Lord Krishna. And it is Vrindavan. So there is Ras Leela, there is love. It's a love poem. Nobody has to tell me, because culturally I am connected with Sarojini Naidu's world, whereas in the Western it's a huge problem. Dictionaries don't help, and some kind of technology, a little bit of technology like Google image only in our classroom makes a huge difference when we deal with those things there. So these were some of those examples that how a simple technology of Google image, which now most of our students are also having with them. And anytime teachers can throw the question that open Google image and try to see what are you getting, and variety of images students will see, and lots of interesting discussion may happen. What are our practical practices in literature classrooms, and how technology is helping enriching our discussions of literature? That is the point which we need to explore a lot. We need to do a research also in this area. We are not talking a lot about it. We are not writing even research papers based on these kinds of activities. The way I made a point, we write a lot about what is happening in English language classrooms, but we rarely think and talk about what is happening in English literature classrooms there. The second point that I come from here is I'm just admitting a few waiting, which are popping up again and again. Okay, so how a part of integrating a technology in the classroom there. Obviously, we can do flipped learning, we can do variety of things, but what we tried in our classrooms, and we got quite a good amount of success also in dealing with integration of technology here, was that we later on in last couple of years we started using Google Classroom for teaching literature. We asked our students to write blogs on whatever things they do. We asked our students to make PowerPoint presentations, and the presentations should be uploaded on digital platforms. We selected one platform like slideshare.net, and all the PPTs, PowerPoint presentations, were uploaded on slideshare.net. Students' videos of presentations are shoot, and they also are uploaded on YouTube channels. So in that all way, a technology is integrated where not only teacher is using technology, but simultaneously students are also using technology. When we think of integrating or using technology in the classroom, several times we have made this remark that the cycle of using technology in the classroom completes if students are also using technology. If only teachers use technology, it is the half cycle. This I refer to the book which I was talking about, this teaching literature by Elaine Sholter. In this book, when she refers to technology, it is still only teachers' use of technology. But this book is almost 17 years old now. And in 17 years, lot many things have changed in such a way that now we can also think that how students can use technology and work with blogs and lot many other activities there. We are not going to see the work that is produced by students, but I would suggest that on the screen, you might be seeing one website with my name. There is dilipbarad.com/PBL, that is Project Blended Learning. So later on, when you will explore this website, you will find the work done by the students on digital platforms there, and that can help you a lot in understanding that how the technology can be integrated in classroom practices also there. So that is that point we are not exploring, but I would keep it up to the participants. Those who are interested can explore this part of how technology can be integrated in English literature classrooms. The last part of the thing that we want to see is why we think of this in this context. When we think of why, we have to think that technology and literature still are not on good terms with each other. For example, literature as such do not have a good relation with science and technology. The way religion and science and technology keeps on conflicting with each other, in a similar way, literature and technology also keeps on conflicting with each other. Well, to give an example, I can say that when industrial revolution was happening in the beginning of 20th century, industrial revolution is obviously a product of science and technology of those years. Most of the literary writers were against industrialization of villages, rural spaces. They always wrote about deserted villages. Victorian literature is full of a kind of a feeling that we are losing something. Our rural spaces are losing something. Wordsworth's poem like Michael also is an old man waiting for a son to come back who has gone to work in a factory. So factory is science and technology, industry is science and technology, and literature will always take the side of that. Another famous example to prove my point that how literature and science and technology are always having locked horns is Charlie Chaplin's The Modern Times. Very obviously, you might have seen The Modern Times, a machine kind of a life, and Charlie Chaplin says, what about human beings in this mechanical life? So that is one point, that there is always a kind of a conflict between literature and technology. Now, in this, when we talk of digital humanities, we see this is an oxymoron word. This digital and humanities, they do not go very well with each other. If you refer to works like 1984 by George Orwell or Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, they all say that, well, technology is for surveillance, technology is for control, and literary writers want human beings to be free. Freedom is always at the center of literary imagination, freedom for human beings. And technology always remains a symbol of control. And that's why digital humanities becomes an oxymoron. But as we move into the time of 21st century, we come to know that without digital, things are impossible now. So we have to find a midway. 20th century conflict with technology was okay. But in 21st century, we can't move on with the same conflict of 20th century or the Victorian times or the Romantics that they used to have, that we have to find a new solution to that conflict. So this article by Matthew Kirschenbaum is a very interesting article, which can be seen into this context, where he questions what is digital humanities and what's it doing in English departments. So Matthew Kirschenbaum tries to argue and say in this context that he says that whenever our people talk about technology in humanities department or the departments of languages and literature, it was English departments where technology entered first time. So there may be regional literature departments in all the universities. And I'm not talking only about India, I talk about Europe also, French, Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, anybody, Russian, any languages. So in among all these languages, it was the English departments where the technology was given perhaps an early entry. That is, Matthew Kirschenbaum is arguing. And he says there are several reasons for that. Reason number one, he says that when the computer technologies, the technology we think in terms of digital, started shaping, it was happening in English language, like alphabets like A, B, C, D, or digits 1, 2, 3, or 0, 1, obviously were English digits that were playing an initial role into that. Then the very first uploaders on the websites were also belonging to English literature. Because English literature, the typeset, the typing type, everything matched with the technology, because it was also growing with, the coding was happening with alphabets, that is English alphabets. There was some kind of bonding at the birthplace of the digital things and this. And so initial uploads of any literature on websites, it was of English literature. A second point, that is why perhaps English departments are more ready to deal with technology or websites or blogs in their classrooms than the other people are ready to do those things. Third one, a very interesting example he says is that English departments are by and large more open than the other language departments. Other language, I don't say only Indian regional languages, I say any other languages. So people dealing with English literature, or they are more global in their perspective. They are more open to cultural diversities. They are more open to accept new ideas and new thoughts. So they may perhaps be leaders in one or the other way in taking those ideas. And that is why perhaps digital things started shaping into English departments in one or the other ways. So that gives some idea that how we look at this idea, digital humanities in this, and how English departments started finding a way, the connection between literature and technology also. At the same time, what we come to know is that we have started looking at something what we known as generation of literature, or generative literature. If we ask people questions like, can you write a poetry on computer? Many people will say, no, I am habitual of writing with hand, pen in the hand, and then my imagination works, and typing is still very difficult. New generation people may not have a problem. They perhaps would be very good with their mobile phones in typing poetry or typing on laptops, but still the old generation people will say that when you hold a pen in the hand, then something sparks in the mind and your imagination works and you can write. So that was one concern, that you can't write poetry on computer. We have very interesting famous examples of people like Ernest Hemingway, who used to type all his novels. He never used to write, but he used to have a typewriter, and throughout the night, standing before typewriter, he used to type all the stories there, and he is a Nobel laureate. We all know The Old Man and the Sea and famous works written by Ernest Hemingway. So this idea that whether I can write imaginative things when I hold a pen in the hand or I type, these are just habits of mind, which becomes interesting. But our question is not that now. Today, our question is, can a computer write poetry or not? So it is not can a human write a poetry on computer? No, that is gone days now. Today's question, or the question that we have to ask in time to come, is about, can a computer write a poetry or not? And this is what we call a generative literature. If people have doubt about this, whether the literature can be written or not, I would suggest this website, botpoet.com. And on this botpoet.com, you will find what is computer poetry. And there is interesting play. They give a poem and then they ask whether this poem is written by a human being or a robot. So people can take a test, and it's a very interesting website to understand what is computer poetry, what is generative literature, and what is robot poet, and other things also. There are very interesting other websites like poemgenerator.org.uk, poem generator machines. So if you want to write haiku, quick poem, sonnet, limerick, just go to website, give keywords, and literature is generated. So we used to have up till now one literature which we call creative literature. Now we are moving into the dynamics where we have generative literature. The time will come when we will say obviously that, well, this is my favorite human poet, this is my favorite machine poet, this is my favorite robot poet. We are moving into those days, and then the concern will come that our poetics was written for the human literature, that is literature created by human beings. We will have to look for the poetics and literary theories wherein how to analyze the literature which is generated by machines, generated by computers and other things also there. So that is another dynamics that we need to explore and look, and these things are happening a lot nowadays. And so our why part, that we need to think seriously about what technology is doing in our classroom. So see, we are moving on. Google Image is one part as a pedagogy of teaching something. From there, we are exploring that if computers will write literature, then how are we going to read those literatures there? This is a very interesting example which was experienced during lockdown period. And this is a Facebook page. Stream On is a Facebook page, and this team of people, this is the World Theatre Laboratory. They experimented performance of play during lockdown through Zoom on YouTube, on Facebook. So people sitting in various continents, and they are performing before a tiny camera through a Zoom, and it is not reading of a play. Let me make this point very clear. Not reading, but actually performing, sitting and performing, and then collectively on a simple frame, we see 4 or 5 characters. They keep on performing with each other, but they are not on one stage. That is not on a physical stage. They are together on virtual stage, and that virtual stage is Zoom or any digital web streaming platform. And audience is sitting before Facebook. See how the dynamics of performance of the play is changing in this time. So the lockdown time has given or allowed us to explore the possibilities of performance of literature. Now, these kinds of performances, when it comes, we are habituated of reading the performance on the stage, but we are not habituated to read the performance over Zoom, the performance over Facebook, and then how to write about it, how to think about it, how to research these kinds of literature. These are going to be very pertinent questions in coming years there. So from digital writing to researching tools, poem generator, performance on the digital platforms, to a kind of a research analysis, that also becomes very interesting here. I would like to share the other screen to talk about this. There is a very interesting project that is going on about Ngram project by Google Books. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Google Books Ngram project. Yeah.
Yes,
so,
sir.
this is yeah. So this is one another one. Like when you use a research tool, and your research tool is a digital something digital, which is doing a kind of an analysis of your data and presenting some charts before us. And how do we do the analysis of this thing? This is an example which I have discussed in many other webinars also. So the people who are repeating the webinars might be knowing about this example here. This is like Google Books have uploaded books of last 200 years. You see on the screen from 1800 to 2008, the books are uploaded. And when you give keywords to Ngram project they will prepare a chart and they will show us that how many times this words has been discussed, or how many times this word has been used in different capacities. So this analysis there. So as an experiment, I gave these three words: Sherlock Holmes. We know a popular character, Sherlock Holmes, Albert Einstein, and Frankenstein. Now, why this is very curious is because Frankenstein is much older text. You will see down the line 1800, before 1800 also. The green line of Frankenstein is lying at the bottom of the chart. Later on, red line of Sherlock Holmes comes after 1880s, and Albert Einstein comes around 1920, after 1900 there. So Frankenstein was already there, but it was not much talked about, to such an extent that even the historiographer of English literatures, they rarely took notice of a text like Frankenstein. And Mary Shelley is a writer also. So when you look at the historiography, and then you find that rarely people are talking about this text, suddenly after 1980s, there is a spike in the popularity of Frankenstein. And so many people are talking a lot about Frankenstein and Mary Shelley. What we see here is that why is Mary Shelley and the work Frankenstein missed out by the historiographer of English literature? Is it because of the kind of a patriarchy that governs our writing of history? So even if some women writer has written a kind of a ghost story or a story like Frankenstein, and they do not take notice of, they say it is a popular literature, it is a cheap literature, and this is not a good writing at all. Perhaps the patriarchal aspect of historiography has played a vital role in not recording Mary Shelley in a proper way. Well, the writer Frankenstein and this work became very popular, and it is very popular even today's time also there. Second example, if you want to just explore like this, in this example I have given Indian languages, yeah? Tamil, Hindi, Bengali, Marathi, Gujarati, and just to look at it, that in whatever store of books Google Books have, in all those books, which language is much talked about what things are written in the repository that Google Books have. Well, we find Tamil is at the top and Gujarati is at the bottom. When we do that analysis, and we come with an analysis that why this happens, how this happens, why even in India, Tamil is much higher than Hindi also. So are people talking a lot about Tamil? There is much of intellectual debates that are happening in and around Tamil language. Then it happens in Hindi or Bengali or Marathi or Gujarati kind of thing. Lots of there are many questions that comes up when a digital tool like this is used here. Now see, if I use a word English here, I am typing a word English here to see the comparison. You can just keep in mind the analysis of Tamil, Hindi, Bengali. Now I put this and I'm searching. I'm to see what changes does it bring. And now see that the graph, how the graph has changed completely. Yeah? So now see, as compared to English language, how the Indian languages perform. So almost at the bottom you find the way this happens. Now see, this is something like digital tools, and it gives us wonderful charts, and something that perhaps we have not seen because we can't see the text in this largeness. People have said that when we do a micro study, we can see a branch of a tree. But if you want to see entire forest, what kind of tools we require? We have to fly like a drone somewhere up. We have to go without drone and kind of it is not possible. These are kinds of drone view that we are getting when we use statistical analysis to look into this matters here. Coming back to my slides. Yeah, are you able to see full screen? Full screen? Is it visible? Yeah, okay. I got a nod from Jaswant sir. So this is another work. Matthew Joker's microanalysis has explored this all possibilities that how it can be done. This work by Aiden and Michel, Uncharted, Big Data as a lens on human culture, cultureonomics is another work which has already done very interesting beginning work into this exploration of digital humanities or digital as a tool for a research and very interesting examples we are getting there. These are some of the charts that they are discussing there, like where people talk about science and religion. So we find that 1800 was a time of religion. Religion is at the top, science is at the bottom, and then slowly and steadily coming down to 2000, the lines are intercepting and science is crossing over the religion. Fever and cancer, for example, 1800 there was nothing like cancer, and suddenly coming down to 2000, cancer is way ahead of fever. So these things are also the result of this analysis. New York and London, you see that it was around First World War that Europe and England and London, which was the center of the world, mark. And slowly and steadily, around 1970s and 80s, New York becomes the center of the world. So what we believe into several things, we get statistical evidence about whatever interpretations we try to do into these aspects also. Finally, while we come down to the conclusion part, apart from all these things, we have very interesting new challenges to be seen into this, and that is coming from artificial intelligence. Because it has been seen that our artificial intelligence also is growing with the unconscious bias of human beings. We know that we are biased in such a way, like we have gender bias, we have color bias, we have colonial bias, and many other things that play a very vital role in various societies and cultures. We thought that technology will be free from human bias because technology do not grow into caste, creed, color, ethnicity, religiosity, nationality. Nothing is controlling technology. It is free from all these things. So we thought initially that artificial intelligence will grow, but that is not happening. The works which is done by Kirti Sharma and Robin Hauser, they have proved that our artificial intelligence also display a very interesting aspect of gender bias. And that happens because the people who are working behind artificial intelligence, that is our software engineers, if they are biased, our machines are going to be biased. So this research obviously tells us that we need to have humanities and literary theories, even for software engineers, even for the IITians and other people, so that their machines and artificial intelligence are free from the human biases there. This is again an interesting project about ethical concerns or moral concerns. We know that literature basically pertinently deals with the very idea about moral and ethical things. This is the MIT project. The website link is given, moralmachine.mit.edu. And under this project, they try to see that if a driverless car, which is driven by artificial intelligence, has to meet with an accident, and then one side there is a cyclist, the other side there is a pedestrian, there is a car coming from there, we can put two more objects, there is a child playing there, there is an old man also. Now if that car has a choice that accident is going to happen, there is no choice, accident or no accident, but there is a choice whom to kill, to bang with a car, to bang with a cyclist, a child or an old man, then what decision the car will make, the artificial intelligence will make. This moral machine website will help us that whatever decisions human beings are going to make, the same decisions our machines are going to make also. So if I am in that car, what am I going to do? What will be my choice? If I have to kill somebody, will I go for killing an old man, or will I go for killing a child? See what is happening in the real world also in this COVID times, when we are shutting down lockdowns and we are opening our markets and cities, and we are moving towards herd immunity. What choices we are making is that because of this, perhaps old people, ailing people, people suffering from illness, having any other kind of terminal illness of kidney or throat infection, they may perhaps die. but normal, healthy person and children may not die. And now that is what we are making a choice, that, well, opening up lockdown obviously means that let the ailing people, the people with some kind of disease die, the old people, let them die, the young people will survive. Now, that is exactly what our machines are going to do. We are in that moment of time where we want to save economy or human beings, whether you want to save Jan bhi, Jahan bhi, when you want to have livelihood and lives. We are moving now. The entire world today is moving towards livelihood, economy, rather than the human lives. Machines are going to make. But these are very pertinent questions, which our literature, our research will also have to deal with this. So while the literary project of making humans human is yet not over, the humanities people have new challenges to make robots also human now. We have to also make artificial intelligence also human. We want to see more researches in the pedagogy of teaching literatures also in this dynamics here. I think I have made my point. Thank you all of you for your patience listening. And if there are any questions, it would be very interesting to have some questions from the participants. Yeah, thank you all of you.
Sir, thank you. We have some questions from YouTube users.
Yeah.
So we have Ganesh Nagapan. He says, how do we make students from rural parts of country to cope with technology by teaching English literature?
Well, this question has popped up many a times nowadays. That rural area and the technology, the network, and other kinds of things. Also, I think in my last webinar, I had participants from Kashmir also. And the very first concern that the participants said that we have 2G connection only. How can we be live, or how can we participate in a live webinar with a 2G connection? So apart from Kashmir, even throughout India, we have regions where still faster connections and other things are still nearly impossible there. There are always parallel plans, like people can access an internet for a while. Sometimes when they come into a good zone, they can download the kind of a thing. You see how technology works. For example, when you look at Wikipedia page, Wikipedia also allows us to download PDFs. One thing. Then you go to YouTube. YouTube also allows us to make it offline. All videos can be downloaded and made offline. So what is the mind behind all this thing? What kind of mind is working is that when people will be moving around from a good network to poor network, when they are in good network, they can download, for example, Netflix, if you see, or any of this live streaming platform, they allow you to download. And then later on, without network also, we can watch films or YouTube, or we can download PDFs, and we can do the kinds of things also there. So the people who are in that, they may have to adjust for a while with wherever there is a good network and other kinds of things, they can access those things. I can give an example of the Gujarat example here, that in last 3 years, in Gujarat, all the students are given tablets, mobile tablets to work on that. The people who are from Gujarat, they will agree with that. 3 years back, we had an excuse that our students don't have devices. How are they going to work on technology? Well, government gave the devices to everybody, almost free of cost. Now, what are you doing? Still, teachers are not doing anything. Teachers don't have blogs. Teachers don't have website. Teachers don't have YouTube channel. That is the reality, because in yesterday webinar, we did one survey, and we found that more than 80% of the participants were not having blogs or websites or this. Government also gave Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi in colleges for the students. So devices are given, Wi-Fi is given. But are teachers ready to deal with technology in the classroom? I would say big no. Hardly 20-25% of the teachers, again, my figures are very high, 20-25%. But still 70 to 80% of the teachers and schools and colleges, I forget about the schools, colleges were not even allowing tablets to enter in the colleges. Principals and teachers say that this is nuisance, this is this. So see, we are very good in giving excuses. So I don't have this, I say that I don't have this, so what should I do? I can give another argument also, is that when imagine we are in 1947, 48, we are just free nation, we don't have enough school buildings, and we want to educate everybody, will we say that educate everybody or start education only after you have schools where you can give admission to everybody? No, we have not made that choice. We started educating to whatever people we can educate. Uh, there are lakhs of applications that are going for IIM and IITs, and we do an exam and we select few. Will we say that no, if we will be able to give admission to all, then only we will run IIM and IIT? No, we are not going to do that. So why, when it comes to technology in the learning, we say that everybody should have, then only I should have? So it is like if 70-80% fine, we can move on, we can start working, we should be future ready. Infrastructure is growing much faster than we imagine. It is going to spread much quicker than we imagine. Before teachers will be ready, the technology will be ready to serve their purpose. So we should be future ready. Even if there are these concerns, we can think on other alternative. Third argument I can give for the same question, because this question keeps on coming time and again. 2 days back, there was a live chat on Facebook by British Council. And there also the same question was there. In British Council, the people were debating, and they said that what about the people which are remotely located, network issues and other kinds of things are there? But these are genuine concerns. I don't say that these are not concerned at all. And teachers should care of these concerns also. So in that debate also, there was this point, and they say that, well, perhaps 4G we are not able to have everywhere, but we have television networks everywhere. We have radio everywhere. So there is an alternative of radio or television network, which can also be used for remote teaching, remote online teaching, an alternative. So teachers might have to explore whatever other possibilities are there in this dynamics also. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I also have a question.
Yes.
Very humbly, sir. You have talked about a poem written by a machine or created by a machine. Let me use the correct word: created by the machine.
Generated by
the machine, created by the machine, right?
Yes.
So it is kind of a tea maker, right? And poem maker. There will be some poem makers, right? So, sir, what means? Will it affect or will it influence the creativity of human being?
What I see, like it is like a futuristic way of looking, is like humans have a machines.
1 second, sir.
Yes.
Hi. Yes. Yeah.
Similar question from a YouTube user also. So I put that also so that you can answer both the questions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Question is asked by Kalika Shah. Do you want to imply that machines or robots will overpower the humans?
Overpower will be like a sci-fi kind of a thing. Like if it's a scientific fiction, then perhaps we would imagine that it will overpower the thing. Let me give an example. When we talk about something new coming, and then the fear that we have, whether it will overpower this or that. Let me give this example. Example from media, which again I have given here also. When there were newspapers and suddenly radio came. And the news came on radio. So people thought that now newspaper will die because there is a radio. There is a live news. Who will read? Who will wait for the next day to read a newspaper? Radio will give you live news. Then came television. If you can watch people, why do you listen? The radio will die because there is television where you can see the visuals. Well, today's reality is that newspaper, radio, and television all exist simultaneously. They all have their space together. So nothing will overpower, but they all will assimilate with each other and they will exist simultaneously. We will have literatures written by humans. We will have literatures written by machines also. We will go to ATM and I will press a button and I will say, I want an elegy. I am in a sad mood. I will press a button that give me a sad poem and the poem will come out. The ATM will give me a poem. If I can afford to go to a mushaira, where there are real people sitting, I will go to mushaira. But everybody cannot afford to go to mushairas. Mushairas happen in a big places. It will not happen everywhere. When we are worried about remote places, imagine how many plays are performed in remote places. If I am in Bombay, I can see very recent performances by Girish Karnad or Shabana Azmi performing there in Prithvi Theatre. But if I am in Bhavnagar, if I am in remote locations, the plays never come. If the shooting is not done, if there is no filming of of the plays, I would never be able to see any play because they never come to my place, remotely located one. So this is how so this idea that how the way newspaper, radio, television assimilated, the same way we will have a new kind of machines which will give us poems or short stories. And this is not nothing like I'm
So we will
have
have,
short
sir,
story
sir,
machines.
Pratik sir, so we will have softwares, right, for poetry and drama. We will have, sir, you can say technician, M Tech on poetry, maybe. That can be possibility. Well, sir, well said, very enlightening. And I think we can now, we can dream about it. Okay, Pratik sir.
Yes. Very good afternoon, Dilip sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
It is nice to hear you. And actually, it is challenging to ask you, so I am not asking you, sir. I just want your opinion regarding with the literature and technology. Sir, well, I have been teaching literature since 8 years, and you are the most senior, sir. So, sir, I want your opinion that don't you think, sir, that while teaching literature with technology, teacher can fix himself or herself in a frame, because at the time of teaching there are so many ideas which comes in the mind of teacher while teaching literature, especially drama, novel, whatever the genre that we are dealing with the students in the classroom. So while teaching technology, that Wordsworth says that spontaneous overflow, powerful feeling, that's some example which comes in our mind while teaching the same thing. So sir, do you face the same problem while teaching with the technology or not, or maybe my question is just an excuse?
Yeah.
I want your
Yeah.
opinion, sir.
Okay. What I have found is that when I use technology in classroom, my mind is more free to think, and so
Okay.
it gives me more space to explore novel ideas, because I don't have to burden with memory, or there is a slides which is supporting my memory. So actually I am free in the class. So the literature teachers, if they are freer, then there is spontaneity of teaching that happens a lot, spontaneity of interpretations. It supports in a much better way rather than it curtails that.
Sir,
Yeah, that's time it always happens, sir, that while learning that someone night dream, that the drama we can say that going on before our eyes. Okay, so that time I feel that I am a bottom in that character. So that's why I'm asking that question, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes. So even when we look at literature, we have poetry, we have novel, we have play. Now we have to keep in mind that plays are never written to be read. Plays are always for performance and to be seen only. When we read play, we are killing the play. Plays are never written for reading. This is the wrong way. So that is the point, that when you literature is a lot of visual. Poetry may not be visual, but play is visual. Narratives are visuals. So cinema is visual. Cinema is literature. Pictures are visuals. Paintings are visuals. It is literature. So that's how. So if we play is always to be performed, it is very good, but everybody cannot perform it. So seeing a performance of a play, I say seeing again, is very, very important when it comes to plays. Yeah.
sir, we have
Hello, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, will I put a question, please? Sir,
Uh,
sir, you told that plays are to be performed, plays are to be enacted. But do you not think that when we read a play also, everything gets enacted there in our mind's eye? Suppose the heroine is in trouble, they're in the jungle, and we feel, where has the hero gone? Will I go and take help the heroine? I feel that even when we read a play, things get enacted in the mind. What do you say, sir? Please.
yeah, of course, you can do that also, but we have to see that are plays written to be read or performed. That is first question.
Of course,
Because
it is to be
literature is
enacted on the
not,
yes.
it is yeah, primary. Then if I read, then perhaps it can help me in imagining a play also. But what is the prime purpose? Are dramatists writing plays to be read by anybody or to be performed? Our answer will be it is for the performance first. Later on, the book is published. Most of the great dramatists, their books are not published before performances. They are always performed first, and then the books of those things are
Yes, sir.
published, and
Yes.
then it becomes a part of syllabus. And then our education of literature governs our mind in such a way that we think that from the angle of education only. For a part of syllabus, we have to read and this another thing. Imagine, are we going to read the scripts of the cinema? If I read the script of films, obviously it will help my imagination. That will it serve the purpose of cinema?
No.
The
No,
genre is made for something. That genre. What is the purpose of that genre? That is very important. That way, poetry is fine, is to be read and recited. Better it is recited, there is better meanings. If only silent listening, sorry, silent reading of a poem will not serve a purpose. There is musicality of words with that. And so a better reciter of a poem gives meaning to that poetry also. So there is again auditory sense into poetry also. So without auditory or visual, literature is incomplete perhaps. Yeah.
Sir, again, this is a Hamlet type question in a sea of troubles. Sir, one thing, if a literary piece is generated by, you can say, machine, then who is going to be the writer, number one? And if there is absence of writer, then we cannot, you can say, criticize or appreciate it without writer. That can be a kind of new criticism kind of thing. Number two, and this what will happen to the psychoanalytic criticism or the post-colonial criticism, or you can say Freudian criticism, this the cultural criticism even, or you can say cultural materialism, right? So there is just text, there is no author, and there we cannot find the author too. So in such a case, how can we interpret that piece?
Yeah. So the very important point is that we have to look for new poetics for generative literature.
Yeah.
The poetics, that is the literary theories of the human literature, will obviously not work with the machine literature. We have to look for new poetics. And time and again, we have always found new definitions of literature, new critical theories to read literature, new theories. Well, post-coloniality was not there in 18th century. It was not there in 1920s and 30s. Also, when those people are writing, it came later on. So when we will have a new literature, we will have a new grammar of literature also. We will have new poetics also. And these are the new challenges for us also. We have to be ready to have the new way of defining literature, new way of reading literature, and identifying new theories of literature also.
So there may be a critic who may be absent, like that poet or like that writer.
Perhaps we may think of an algorithm where it will also generate the criticism also.
Yeah.
When you will go to this website, poetgenerator.com, .co.org, and where you will find that they will also give a brief review also. And when you will read, I will doing that activity, and it says that, wow, this is an excellent poem, it says. Even the review automatically comes. And it picks up a key word. Like if you're given a poem on morning, the auto-generated criticism will say that, well, your way of looking at morning is amazing. These are automatic responses that machine is giving. Now, I compare that with exactly if you will see the chat box here. Now, this chat is done by human beings. But if you'll see, this human chat is almost mechanical like machines.
Yes,
the
sir,
same kind of word, the same kind of thing. It is awesome. It is good. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. If you will study the chat box of 10 webinars, you will find as if machines are doing this. It is not human being. Human beings will do things in a different way. But this chat will say it is machine. It is mechanical. So the part of ourself is mechanical also. But we don't know who programmed us. When we were growing, the language, the religion, the society, the culture, how are we programmed? So when we look at generative literature, when we look at the literature generated by machines, actually we are questioning not the machines, but human beings, how we are mechanical. Was I given a choice whether I want to have this religion or that religion? Was I given a choice whether I want to have this language or that language? Language was just the very first software which was installed in me without my choice. And that language as a software has made me a machine. It made me a robot of, I will say, I am proud I am a Hindu. I am a proud I am an Indian. I am a proud I am a Gujarati. This is a mechanical process. When I ask, what about are you proud of? What have you done as a Hindu or as a Gujarati or a Hindustani or a human being? What have you done? Well, I don't know. I am a robot. I am programmed to say Bharat Mata ki Jai. So I will say that. So these are very interesting questions. That are we not a robot made into robots by a kind of discourse and languages? That is where this will lead us into looking at the humans in a better way. Yeah, Tanvir was raising a hand. Yeah.
Yeah, I have also one question. So because you have raised more confusions. Yeah, please. Tanvir sir, you can.
Audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So actually, it was a continuation of a question asked by a user. So I just wanted to put that in also. We have Danish Malik. He says, will the so-called poem generators adhere to the doctrines of poetry laid down by the poets like Wordsworth, Coleridge, because they have laid down such principles, keeping in mind the fact that they are to be performed in human mind only. So will there be any compatibility?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Well, let us go back. Now, see, when Wordsworth is writing lyrical ballads, yeah, 1798. If you will see the criticism against lyrical ballads, people did not accept Wordsworth as a poet at all. People said that these are nursery rhymes, these are not poetry. So he was not considered, and that's why he has to write preface after preface. 1798 preface, 1800 preface, 1802 preface. And in preface, he is trying to explain what is my poetry about, what experiment we are doing. He is defining poetry. Why has he to define a poem again when the Greeks have already defined poetry? It means that he was doing something new. He was challenging the very tradition of poetry, right? And then when see, even 1818, when Coleridge is writing Biographia Literaria, even in that work, Coleridge is defending Wordsworth. He said that I do not agree with the very notion of poetry which Wordsworth is speaking about, because Coleridge was a very complex poet. So he said, I don't agree with the simplicity idea, spontaneity idea, tranquility idea. He has lots of confusion in his mind. As we say, very idea of spontaneity also is paradoxical. His sentence says, spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, emotions recollected in tranquility. Now, tranquility and spontaneous are opposite of each other. They do not match with each other. So there is that is the problem with Wordsworth, which people have debated. He was not considered a good poet. He was rather, people said, nursery rhymes. Coleridge said that had the critics been true, then Wordsworth would have been forgotten into oblivion and nobody would remember him after 20 years. But after 20 years, more young people love Wordsworth. They write like Wordsworth. It means there was some worth in poet. Now, when Coleridge has to say this, it means that still Wordsworth was struggling to find a space as a poet. But today, when we argue, we say that Wordsworth had done this. He has made a canon of literature. He has opened up a new chapter of romanticism in English literature. But in his time, it was different. Today, another chapter is opening in 21st century. The chapter which is opening is about generative literature. We will have all those questions against all those kinds of things. And we can give innumerable examples. Wordsworth also, we know he was not classical. He was very popular to such an extent that, like a cheap dramatist, the royal family would not perform Shakespeare's play in the royal court. Their preferred choice would be Ben Jonson. So time and again, Hardy's novels, Thomas Hardy's novels, the religious gurus, they burned the books. And they said that the people who read Hardy's novel, they are corrupt people. Nobody should take a daughter in a marriage from those homes where Hardy is read. And he was so bitterly criticized that he stopped writing novels. He started writing poems. So this is the phase. Historically, when we see any new thing that happens, anything that is challenging the tradition, is always met with many questions. And it is good that many questions are coming. But we have to address questions historically. That has this kind of thing happened anytime in the past, and then how it keeps on happening today also there.
Honorable sir, my question is also, Miss, I'm with more confusions. Number one, I'm thinking, Miss, I have been taught by my teachers that poetry is about emotions, or drama is about feelings, and novels are about feelings. right? Now, suppose I have a girlfriend and she chatting with me in a webinar or in any social media platform, and I'm not watching her, right? She said that am you, miss you. I said that she said that that's it. So is it with this kind of poetry, this kind of poem must be like that? It's a virtual chatting. I mean, I cannot have that emotions, overflowed emotions.
Very interesting. Now that will also question that when I am with somebody, am I really with that buddy or not? I may not be. I am with somebody holding the hand of my beloved, but I may not be with that person. Somebody else may be in my mind also.
So
What
are
is
you
the
saying,
guarantee?
no, sir, wonderful, sir, are you
What is the
saying that, okay,
guarantee
love
of
your
that?
virtual lover?
Well, that is the no. So when people question that in a real classroom and the virtual classroom dynamics, I can give an example with that also. People say that when students are learning online, they may go on Facebook, they may go on WhatsApp, they may see website, they will not concentrate. Well, I say when they are sitting without mobile phone in the classroom, do you have a guarantee that they are listening to you? No, they may be anywhere. They may be just looking at you, but they may be somewhere outside the classroom. So our mind is something like that, that it flies away at variety of places. So if somebody is speaking, what our language philosophy tells us that we use language to curtain our emotions and feelings, not to express emotions and feelings. When I have more things to hide, I use more words. When I have more emotions and feeling, I am silent.
But honorable
So
sir,
this is also the way, yeah.
We are in a lockdown period, right? So we are talking virtually, right? So shall we continue this? Will we continue this? Okay, let us meet virtually. Let us not go out, right? But we are eager. We are eager to close this lockdown. We are eager to meet someone, right? So why? Because we have that powerful feelings, right? When we meet someone physically, where we have that, you can say, a kind of attachment when we meet someone, right? So this virtual kind of poem, right, and virtual kind of criticism or virtual thing generated by some machine or some software, right? It may it be have or may it have some impact on human mind or human heart.
Okay, first thing, like when people say we want to meet out or go out, well, many say that no, we are happy with lockdown.
So
Many may be happy. It is not that everybody wants to meet everybody. People like me are happy because I was tired of traveling at so many places. Now I can talk with people without traveling. And I am very happy with this because lots of time was just wasted in traveling only. And now I can meet, so every day I do 2, 3 webinars. I can meet so many people in all the corners of the place. And see, I can do maximum today than I was doing before lockdown. So so that's why many people will say we want to meet. Some people will say we are happy with this also. It all depends upon the type side, personality types of the people. Some people are extrovert, some are introvert, some may love to. So that, and then again, in all this behavioral pattern also, our formative experiences. We have grown without technology, without the kind of a life that is going or shaping or coming. We have not grown with that. That's why we think in that way, that this is necessary, this is how it has to be. New people will grow with a different dynamics. New people will think in a different way, and so they may have their own way of doing that. So it is just a habit of mind rather than naturally something that is happening. I won't say it is natural. This is our conditioning into a society where we have lived up till now, which was a physical society, which was not a virtual society. So we keep on loving a physical society a lot, rather than a virtual. And virtual doesn't mean that it will be complete virtual only. It will never be physical. Even today, for example, when we meet online, even in this last lockdown of 40, 50 days, I have participated in 2 marathons: terrace marathon, in-home marathon, 5 kilometers marathon, 10 kilometers marathon. I play with my children every day. Tennis I play. I upload videos on Facebook of playing tennis outside also. So like, you work with virtual doesn't mean that you 24 hours work only with virtual. You are with real world. You are with real people. You play outside. You go outside. You do cycling. Even in lockdown also you were doing, because you need to do that physical activity. The body requires physical activity. It is a part and parcel. So virtual doesn't mean that there is no physical. It is an absence of everything. It's an amalgamation. It is an assimilation of the life is real, the life is virtual, and whatever is good that the life offers, we will grab and we will move on.
Sir, one more possibility. What will happen when the system hacked your poetry?
That is what is happening.
Some hacker will come.
Yeah, I have a very interesting, because many people ask these questions. Now see, when you read Hamlet, is very well-known character.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And Hamlet's character, his mind was getting hacked time and again.
Yes.
That's why he was like mad person. There is method in his mad. What is madness is melancholy. Melancholy is depression. Depression is hacking of system. So Hamlet never played with PUBG game.
Yeah.
Hamlet never used to have mobile phone. Hamlet never used to have web conferences, though he was a scholar studying in university, and yet his system was getting hacked. Then what happened with Ophelia? Ophelia's system also hacked, and she committed suicide. Well, so it is not that machine will do that. It is happening time and again. It was happening in past also. It is how mentally fit we are, and the troubles of societies and life obviously play a vital role. And with whatever we do, illness, mental illness, physical illness is a part of life. So existentialist would say that accept everything. It is a part of life. And with this or that, you can blame a device, you can blame a technology which is outside very easily. But if you see historically, you will find that people had suffered from all these illnesses, even if there was no technology.
Quite amazing, sir. Quite, you can say, quite debatable topic. And this, obviously, you are always magnificent. Obviously, you are always amazing, sir. Okay, Tanvir sir, I think you have raised your hand.
Yeah, a question from YouTube user Ravita.
Yes,
Ta. She says we depend on technology for anything and everything. Is it affecting the creativity, thinking capability, or imagination, sir?
Obviously, everything will have its own effect on our creativity and our life, everything, anything that will be there. So, but what is important for any creative writer is that they have to live their present moment. That is very important. Now, Wordsworth lived in his own time. I can't I should not write poems only like Words, because my time is different. If Wordsworth is today, he will write a poem about today. He is not going to write about yesterday. Any literature which is going to sustain the time test and everything, the very first audience of literature is today's audience. The very first events of literatures are today's events. Even if people keep on writing about Radha and Krishna and Morpich, I question to those young poets that have you seen Morpich? If Morpich is not a part of your life, why are you writing about Morpich? Why don't you write poem on mobile about mobile? Because you are with mobile, not with Morpich. Then you are just borrowing terms from other poets. Now this borrowing, this imitation is a servile imitation. It is not creativity at all. So whatever is the life that is lived today should be captured and should be, that is the very aspect of creativity. Imitating past writers and taking their metaphors is never a good literature. This literature will die away within a decade, but literature which speaks about today's metaphor, and today's metaphor obviously is digital world that we are living with that. Sure. And if that is not used metaphorically by the today's writer, then writers are not capturing today in a proper way. Their role is they are the historians of every day, and they have to capture today's moment, and that is their role also to do in that case. So even if that happens, they have to cope up with whatever way the creativity is supported or hampered by digital tools.
So I'll just add to this, we have Lyota, who writes postmodern condition, a report on knowledge. And there he talks about the language games. And I think this fits here, that if literature has to survive in the language game, it has to become digital in 21st century.
Yeah, that's also interesting point. Yeah, that is good. Yeah.
Another question from YouTube user Rama Raju Sabapathe. What is your opinion about the place for poetry in teaching technical English? that is grammar and vocabulary related to technical English?
It is very good. Rather than poetry, still, I would say that if novel or plays are used for technical purpose, because the technical students, they want language as a tool to work in society or marketplace. To use a better word, marketplace. For them, language learning is not for aesthetic delight. For them, language is a tool which gives them jobs and then promotions in the job. They want to write better letters, they want to write better CVs, they want to make better presentations. Literary language will always help them in making their language better. But teacher will have to see that is teaching poetry or a play or a novel is helping them enriching their linguistic power or not. If it is only enriching their aesthetic sense, their literary sense, it is not going to be helpful to them in their marketplaces. So anybody who is dealing this ESP idea, specific purposes, nurses, engineers, scientists, business people, they are using language for promotion, for the jobs, for writing, for that purpose, and that is to be served. We have glaring examples that even an English literature student becomes lawyer or judge also. The arguments of that lawyer is more powerful than other one who has not done BA or MA in English literature. Judges, their verdicts are amazing if they have mastered in literature. So it obviously plays a very significant role. If you study literature, it helps everywhere there. But for them, teacher's role is to tell them that, well, you have to use language, and how beautifully you enhance your language for your purpose, it will play a very vital role.
Sir, I remember Keats. He was criticized as Konkani poet, and he was criticized bluntly, right? So it may also happen that someone has written or someone has, you can say, pasted or generated a poem, and the critical, means virtual critics, they may attack on that poetry.
Yeah, of course, it may happen. It is a part of game. It's a part of game. I'll say in the real world, kids died of tuberculosis.
Yes.
And many have connected with the bitter criticism also. That because of bitter criticism, he was not accepted as a poet. The illness aggravated. Now, in a virtual world, that will not happen. Nobody will die of tuberculosis. The machines will not die of tuberculosis. The machines will not suffer from mental breakdown. If nobody will accept that, they will try out something new.
Then sir, we have to change the syllabus and curriculum.
Of
then
course,
we have mobile means, I think we should go on mobile, and then get examination on mobile. Maybe.
Of course, that all is going to come. It is all there in pipeline. It is all there in pipeline. It is all going to come. That is where this post-COVID time is going to play a very significant role. Now, see what has happened. We were talking a lot about digital, but in COVID time, we have seen that digital was the only thing which has sustained us in our communication with people, in our meeting with people, in our reading, in our preparing academic work, everywhere. If anything has worked, libraries are shut down. When we were working for webinar, I prepared a resource and put it on a blog so that if the participants want to read paper, because we allowed participation reading also. So I thought that they will not have library access. They will not be able to go to their school, colleges, or to libraries. So I gave digital resources to them. So see, digital resources sustained us. And today when we prepare for our webinar, like as a presenter, for me also it is digital resources which is helping me. If there is no digital resource, I would be completely blank. For 50, as if it is like Kumbhakarna, I am awaking after 50 days. I have done nothing, but in 50 days I enriched only because of digital media, websites, blogs, YouTube, and other things. So this has proven that digital is going to sustain in coming days. Digital is going to be is also going to face a challenge. But when meteors will attack our satellites, when the meteors in the space will attack all our satellites and all our satellite communications will be disrupted, at that time we have to think another way, that now what to do when the communication channels are not working. But we can have plan B, C, D always in our mind.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Bharat. Bold, Dr. Bharat. Wow. OMG. Mr. You have widened the imagination now. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Bow down to you. Yes.
Because see, I have an international webinar coming up on 3rd
Yes.
June. So I was looking in Windy app, cyclone. So on 3rd, there is a cyclone coming in Gujarat on 3rd and 4th. So I am worried that what will happen to my webinar if the cyclone attacks on 3rd. It is going to attack on 3rd, 9 o'clock night. My webinar will end by 6 o'clock. So I have 3 hours. Now, see, I am thinking that also. When I think of webinar, I am also seeing that our cyclones going to come now. What is helping me? There is an application called Windy. There is a website called Windy, which is giving you the live coverage about where the cyclones are moving around. And I am thinking, so I don't have to wait for the material department or this departments to declare that this will happen. I already have started plan B about my webinar. I will shift it on 2nd, or I will to postpone after 1 week. Something I have to think. But see how digital ways of looking at everything is helping us in making decisions about whatever we do. Academically, we are doing, but everything it is helping a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there any question? Yeah, Dr. Nirav Mehta.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, yes.
Yes, you are.
First of all, let me begin by thanking Dr. Dilip Barad, sir. It's a wonderful session. Though I'm not teaching literature for past more than 10 years, but I got a very good insight from you, sir, and some of the technical aspects regarding teaching literature. My question is, as you have mentioned with the example of waiting for Godot, some of the very normal words, we look at it normal words, but from Samuel Beckett's perspective, it has some different connotation. You know, explain with Google image and some other related connotations. So my question is, when we have to teach literature, suppose tomorrow I have to deal with literature, I'll find it very difficult in the context of some words that are related to students. How should I teach them? I mean, how can I have the literary insight? Can you talk about, sir? Talk about it, sir.
Now, see, when we talk about a word like literary insight or how will we teach, first thing, like we imitate some models of how our teachers were doing, or when we are trained in some refresher course or training programs, or like this program interaction, might give an idea that let me ask Google image, or in that way we do. But at the same time, our experience is very important. Our experience of teaching. The more we teach, the more we keep on experimenting in our classroom. We enrich ourselves. If I keep on doing the same thing every year without doing any new thing, then I have 1 year's experience 20 times. But it is not 20 years experience. It is only 1 year experience, but 20 times. But every year, if I keep on exploring new things, I come across, then I keep on enriching myself in different ways. So experience plays a very vital role in teaching. Apart from that, our training, our observation, our participation in seminars, webinars also keeps on giving us ideas. And whenever an opportunity comes, we are ready to use those ideas in real life situations.
And one more, sir, when we are teaching to, I mean, I am teaching to management students, we have to deal with the play like All My Sons by the authors and all that. So, I mean, I look at that way, I mean, making mockery of this literary piece of work because they are simply interested in summary. I should say that way, because they have to write simply answers. So in that case, as a faculty of English, especially in this ELT purpose, if I say that, how can we do something innovative for them?
See, one very interesting idea for play is that pieces of some interesting aspect can be given to students to read. A kind of a performance. That is one thing. So they can be interested. If you find a very good film based on that, or a dramatic performance I have seen that students are not interested in dramatic performance. It becomes very dull. And to motivate them to do that is a very tough task. Though we give lots of activity, if teacher gives activities that watch this, watch that, if you watch a film or a play along with students, do lots of poses in the classroom, pose and discuss the scene. Then slowly and steadily, students will get interested into that. One of the ways of cultivating interest of students in literature classroom is obviously to bring lots of visual material. Related one, not exactly about that, but something that is related. Like when we are dealing with in popular literature paper, when we deal with Chetan Bhagat's One Night at the Call Center. At the same time, we also bring Ian Martel's Life of Pi. Because the narrative of Life of Pi and One Night at the Call Center are very similar. Now, Life of Pi is considered a classic literature, whereas this is a very popular literature. Life of Pi has got Man Booker Prize. Chetan Bhagat perhaps will never get any of those awards with the kind of he writes. It's a popular literature, it's popular, and so we study a part of popular. But you bring the visuals from Life of Pi to deal with another text, and then people can have lots of interest in it. Science students or engineering, it is very difficult to cultivate interest. So it is a tough challenge for the teachers, but it is not impossible.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Sir, one more question, sir. Sir, then Miss Google will be our Aristotle, right? And then we have to use the word and Miss put the picture and Miss let the students will see the picture, right? Then we will, I think, deconstruct the idea that there are text in plural, right? There may not be a text, but there are texts. So we have to follow Google or Google image, right? And when we follow Google image, then that would be, you can say, a kind of autonomous or monotonous interpretation. Means you are using a picture. For example, you use that picture of the plant. Then you are saying that, okay, this is the plant, and what the writer wants to suggest this, right? So there may be, you can say, we may not be liberated, or we may not have that freedom to interpret that poem or that particular piece of work in different way.
No, like for example, what is the different way? If that also is explored in the class, it is good. If there is a willow, weeping willow, what else do you read? When we show image or when we see that, we are trying to reach to the remoteness that was there. When I was seeing a weeping willow, I was not able to actually see what is in the mind of Beckett. It was nearly impossible to see why Beckett has used the word weeping willow or a bush. What was it? Is it only for a bush or a tree, or there was any other? What are the possible interpretations? All possible interpretations can be put down on the board. They can ask students that, what do you think? We can write everything, and then we can say that maybe this also is the interpretation. Maybe this, and then we can to support our argument, we have to visualize our argument to support. Because if I argue that, well, I think this, but then I have to support that what I think is based in some evidence or not. I cannot just not have this air balloons flying in the name of interpretation. Interpretation doesn't mean that whatever I think is right. Reader response theory is not everybody's reading is a correct reading. It should be based in the study of language. It should be based in the study of culture, religion. A very deep study is necessary. Now, people don't have a deep study and they say, I think it is this. Now, that is not interpretation at all. Yeah, I think I'm making a point. So how do we, an ignorant person's interpretation and a knowledgeable person's interpretation, is there any difference or not? And that is very important, because anybody who says that I think it is this, we have to ask another question. Why do you think like that? What is your purpose for that? What is your evidence for that? Are you connecting this text with another text? Are you connecting this with the another? So in that case, you have to show and display either other text or other image, because A, B, C also is nothing but image. If tree is an image, A also is an image. Written word is nothing but images. That's why in Plato's Academy, written words were not allowed. Only spoken words were allowed, because they thought that writing also is a technology and it corrupts the real knowledge. So writing was secondary, as we know, in Plato's Academy or in Gurukul system also. There was more of oral shruti rather than writing anything. So that is very important. But writing as a part of technology, which was resisted in Plato's Academy, is accepted today. Then came printing machines. Printing book was resisted earlier. Today, somebody is printing book and we accept it without technology. But there was a time where people resisted to this idea also. Second point, that Aristotle said something. Now, today, perhaps for me, Aristotle is nothing but a robot only. Because I don't know Aristotle now. Aristotle is dead. His ideas are like stuck in time. So if Aristotle is alive today, perhaps he will rewrite poetics, keeping in mind what is happening on digital platforms. Because he was watching what is happening in theaters of those days. He is writing about the popular theaters of his days. He observed what is happening in the theater and then he wrote poetics. So if Aristotle is today here, he will watch Netflix, he will watch Amazon Prime videos, he will go to cinema theaters and he will say that literature is this. What are you doing in the classrooms? You say don't watch Netflix, you say don't watch film, read. This is not literature. Literature of today is Netflix, web series. Aristotle will do that and he will define literature in different way. So what Aristotle is in our mind is almost robotic or mechanical Aristotle in the mind, is a dead poetics, which is stuck in our mind. We have to think, if Aristotle is today, what will he do? I gave this example earlier in another discussion that many Gandhians are anti-technology. They think that Gandhi was anti-technology. But they forget that even Charkha was a technology. Yes, and if Gandhi is alive today, he would be on Twitter. He would have YouTube channel. He would be on Facebook. He was a man of communication. He wanted to reach out to people, so he was writing postcards. And he never resisted the postcard system that was British system. He resisted the cloths of British, but never the postal system, because he knew that this postal system will take my message to the masses. So if he gets a better alternative of tweeting, he will not write postcards. The Gandhians would be writing postcards today, but Gandhi won't do that because he was progressive of his time. So this is how we have to see the past in present context also. And then we can think of what they might think or do, given if they are living in our times.
Yeah, sir. It can extend the horizons of our interpretation. I mean, it can be one. Yeah. Am I right? Am I right,
Yeah.
Sir?
Yes, it obviously
right?
expands our horizon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Okay.
It was huge. It is almost 6 o'clock. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It was very interesting.
Sir,
good questions.
But it was very discussive topic. So it was very amazing topic and
very good. It was 4 to 5, but it is extended until 6 o'clock. Good. Enjoyed. Yeah, enjoyed a lot.
I also enjoyed. So I respectfully I request my principal. Would you like to question, sir, Vijay Mangukia, sir? Would you like to? Because you are, I know that you are student. Okay, you can please.
Yes.
No, sir. Student has first right, sir.
Yes. No, actually, see, I don't have any question to ask, sir, but I want to share my experience of studying under him. Actually, I have pursued my MA MPhil under his guidance, and he has always been a source of motivation for me since I entered the department in 2008. I have seen him using technology in teaching literature. I have a first-hand experience of studying literature taught by him using technology. See, one of the participants asked questions that whether the technology will replace the teachers or not. But I always believe that, and even Dilip sir also tells, and he also gives his views that, see, technology is not going to replace the teachers, but technologies will work as a supplement to the teachers. And teachers, if they can use technology in the best possible way, definitely he will be able to teach literature very effectively. So technology will be a kind of a supportive material for the teachers. And I have the first-hand experience of studying literature under him only. So I know him better than perhaps anyone else today in this particular webinar. And sir, and I wanted to see him. I have been listening his webinars since the lockdown started, and since he has also been giving his expert talks in each and every webinars, I always remain present and participate actively. But I don't want to ask any question to him, but I because I have the first-hand experience of studying literature under him. And sir, Jaswant sir and me, both of us are working in a PG center together as a PG teacher. And before this webinar also, we talked a lot about this, and I was very eager to see you and listen to you. And thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Even I have waited for Godot. Sir knows it well. Right? So I waited a lot for sir, because sir's schedule was very tight, right? So I requested him, re-requested, and at last, thank you, sir. Right. So I would like to request Dr. Parmar to thank Dr. Barad. Sir, you can unmute your audio. Your audio is not working. Yeah, yes.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yes. Professor Dilip Barad, Department of English, MK University, Bhavnagar. My webinar coordinator, Jaswant Rathod, and all the participants. What a wonderful session today. What an interesting and interactive session. Both our speaker and our webinar coordinator and also the participant like Tanvir Ahmed and others raised so many questions, and you answered very, very cleverly and interestingly, sir. Thank you very much. What a wonderful. I enjoy a lot. I am not a student of English literature, even though I enjoy your lecture, and you told and covered all the points, even life of Pi, Gandhiji, and all the technical digital tools which are helpful to us for teaching in even language also. You have also mentioned the novel, plays, and poetry, how to teach in the classroom. Sir, thank you very much from behalf of my college and behalf of my webinar coordinator. I thank you very much, and even I enjoy. Thank you, and we will be you again with us, so you can highlight the other points of the how to teach English language. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Sir, thank you very much. I also thank Professor Tanvir Ahmed from Jammu and Kashmir. Sir, this is the connection via
Yes,
Miss
yeah.
Nitrang via Bhavnagar to JK, right? And also Surat, right? So thank you, Dipali ji. Thank you, Pratik ji. Thank you, Bhavna Bendre. Thank you, Dipal. Thank you, Ansuya. Thank you, Parmar Saab. Thank you, Nirav Mehta. So we'll close this meeting. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.